Welcome everybody. Sorry I can't be here tonight, but I just don't feel that I can face everybody at the moment. It's been a bit traumatic with the critique from BIAFF, but putting that to one side for a second, let's start the evening. And I'd like to start with a clipping that was taken out of the IAC Film and Video Maker December of last year on page 4. And if you look at it, it looks a pretty impressive statement, you know. Charitable objectives, the advancement and improvement of videographers. It all sounds great, but how does it actually stand up in reality? Let's just take a look at what's gone on over the last couple of months. We'll now show the full critique on the screen for you all to read, just so that you can see how devastating it is.
No wonder you're devastated, Arf.
Yeah, I can't really understand where all this is coming from, because they're being very non-specific. For example, they're not saying at such and such a time the lighting was bland. There's nothing helpful about it. They're not approaching it in a positive way. That's what I find so devastating. They're just ripping it apart in an unspecific way and not giving me any examples. They're not helping me in any way. Do you know what I mean? Tell you what, let's break it down a bit. We'll have a look at a few shots, and then you and everybody else can make up your minds as to whether I'm just being a little bit picky about this, or whether they're being totally rude and abusive to just about everybody who took part. This is the beginning of the film, the only bit that the judges seem to like, and they refer to it as close-ups. Now, I'm sure that most of you will realise that this is a composite section and a lot more complex than just a close-up. Perhaps they weren't able to understand that. The next one we're going to go into is a rather bland lit daylight scene. As an editor, I wanted to do a little bit more, so I introduced a shaft of light for the couple to walk through. Perhaps I didn't notice that, eh? This scene also contained a non-static handheld shot. Don't think they noticed that either. I tried to introduce friction between two of the main characters. This started early on in the film and carried on throughout, to become evident at the end as to what it was all about.
Whose idea was that then?
They cover more ground quicker than we can.
Yeah, but we can go through more thoroughly from down here.
I don't disagree with that, but let's not get blinkered by our approach.
Well, in my experience, close-up ground coverage usually gives better results.
And as SIO, I've made a call. It's not your job to question me on every decision I make, Rob.
No, boss. Sorry, sir.
Right. How have we got that?
Here we have another really well acted scene with Reg and Samantha having a bit of a confrontational argument on the stairs. Samantha's obviously had her drugs at the pub, she's come home, and now she's having a secretive discussion on the phone with who? That's the question.
Come on. You better go and sleep, it's off. I don't know what you think you're doing. Drawing attention to yourself in public, making a spectacle of yourself.
Was that a bit of fun? What do you know all about?
You take that stuff and you become an embarrassment to yourself and to me. Go to bed.
Maybe you thought controlling your little habits, I would control mine.
I'm going to the club.
He's gone to the club. Any news? What? I thought you said you had it all in hand. You'd better. I tell you, if we fall, you'll fall harder.
This was a 2-room scene, all shot in one. So we had 2 cameras in one room, one in the kitchen, and we had a 2-mic setup. Critique says that we had bland lighting. Well, I would disagree. If you notice when Carl's in the kitchen, he's moving through pools of downlight created by the ceiling lights. The conversation is clear, the sound is crisp, and the acting is brilliant. I don't call this bland lighting, I call it realistic lighting.
Crime fighting hero finished for the day. I'll just finish this and we'll have dinner.
Alright. I was putting the washing on.
No need, Dad, I've already done it.
Thank you, Beth. What to do about you, eh? I thought you said you was going out. Wouldn't be on so late.
Changed my mind. I wanted to finish this songcloth. How was your day anyway?
Complicated. You know what it's like, one door shuts, another one opens.
Yet another well-acted scene. Night time. We've got tracking, panning shots, background out of focus. We've got lights of the police vehicle outside. We've got the sirens from the police vehicle outside. I don't really see what we've done wrong here.
Sorry to bother you, boss.
It's okay. What's so important? Tommy thinks he's found the address we've been looking for.
Right. Going through her laptop, I noticed she's a really big fan of 60s and 70s music. It's like her collection is massive.
Okay. Where's this going?
Bear with me, boss. Attached to the music library are a number of playlists. When I looked at the playlist, one song in particular stood out as being played way more than the others.
So she likes a particular song?
Ask me what the song is.
Do you want me to transfer you to traffic, Tommy? I haven't come in to play the guessing game, just get on with it.
This scene, the scene about Jill Barnes, played by Danny Billington. Very difficult to do because she's got so many emotions to work through. You know, she's a sex worker being interrogated by 2 coppers. A friend, a flatmate, has gone missing. Then she finds out that she's been killed. I think she did this absolutely perfectly, and she deserves all the recognition she can get.
We know what you do for a living. We also know that some of you girls keep tabs on each other for safety reasons. Now, did she say where she was going?
No. Although she did tell me she has a regular calls him Mr. Nice. She called me to say that she'd be arriving at 9 p.m, but she never phoned to tell me she left. I keep ringing her, but her phone's switched off. What's going on?
I'm sorry to have to inform you, but a body was found yesterday early morning, and we now have reason to believe that it is Barbara Mason.
I'll get you a glass of water.
Do you mind if I have a look at her room?
Upstairs, on the left.
I promised that I'd never ask you again, and I need to know who he is. I need to know who my dad is.
I don't want to talk about him.
I know. I'm sorry, Mum. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. Please. I'm quite a serious problem's cropped up at work, and could be in a lot of trouble. I just need to know who he is, or a name, or whatever. It's important.
You remember the stairwell scene?
Yeah. Our lighting expert who was on camera, Ian
Ian Reid, is it?
Ian Reid, that's him, Ian Reid. He came in specially to help us out, to do us a favour. And we got all the lighting sorted, and we framed everything up, and we adjusted all the camera settings so that the light came down and we got a nice tense sort of atmospheric feeling. And I shouted action. Guess what happened? Our lighting expert, our camera expert, Ian Reid, pressed the white balance and it all just went to pot. Have a look.
Once you've read it, I don't want any questions. I need to see if there's any DNA evidence in this cold case that links directly to the death of Barbara Mason. No questions.
But we managed to change what you've just seen into this, all through the editing process. But the editing was just average, so perhaps I didn't do all that well after all. You make your mind up.
Once you've read it, I don't want any questions. I need to see if there's any DNA evidence in this cold case that links directly to the death of Barbara Mason. No questions.
Well, these scenes were definitely down to Robbie. I told him I wanted static drone shots, not moving ones, but he would insist on moving the drone. But some people think they're static shots. Don't know where they're going from. This scene I thought was absolutely perfection. The timing was just spot on. The acting was brilliant right the way through. And if you notice, a little bit of out of focus in the background just to concentrate the audience on what the actor is saying. And the reaction shots as well from Jules, and the hesitation from Carl when he's dismissed by Reg. I think they're absolutely great. See what you think?
Reg, these two policemen would like a word with you, dear.
Two policemen, you say? How can I be of assistance, gentlemen?
We're looking for the owner of a property, 57 Albright Gardens.
And what makes you think I would know?
You're on the board of directors of a company that lists this address as an asset.
I own many businesses. My concern is profitability, not who drives what car or what business owns what property. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got some important business to attend to. My wife will show you out.
This way.
We'll be in touch.
I thought the interview scene went well. What do you think of?
Yeah, that was fun to do that, because Andy had to step in at the last minute, doubling up for Julian because he was up sick. You know what it's like. So Andy came off camera and went on acting, which I thought he upheld that role brilliantly. Jack was thrown in at the deep end because he had to do the handheld sequence coming into the room. And then, if I remember right, it all seems to be shot, or a lot of it seems to be shot in close-up. And not only that, I think the background's out of focus. Or is it my glasses?
You know what? I don't get. How could he have used it on himself?
I guess that coward didn't want to spend the rest of his remaining days in prison. I know he ruined my life.
Your life? What are you on about ruined your life?
That monster raped my mother when she was 15 years old. Because of him and his actions, she never trusted men again. He was responsible for the manufacture and distribution of a drug that killed 5 people 11 years ago. Of them 5 people, one of them was my wife. Because of him, a child grew up without a mother. Not to mention the death of Barbara Mason.
Hang on. Your mum? You mean he was your dad?
Kind of puts all new meaning on the phrase, you reap what you sow, doesn't it?
I failed to see what the critique was hinting at when it said no more close-ups. You have a look at it, see what you think.
I can't believe he thinks my granddad. He did so many bad things.
I know. And I get it. I feel the same way, but at the same time, we can't forget that he's also responsible for me and you being alive today.
Okay, I'm going to wrap up now. But I'd like to leave you with a clip of people being happy on set, getting a little bit tipsy maybe. But before I do that, I'd like to make a statement. I do not make films just to please judges. I make films for people to enjoy, for audience to enjoy. I also make films for the cast and crew to be recognised for what they do and the professionalism that they put into making a film. Yeah, we all have fun, or we try to have fun when we're making it.
Gordon is as sober as a judge, aren't you?
Sober as a such.
If we'd have had a drink tonight, we'd have been drunk, but we didn't have any alcohol.
Nothing at all.
At all.
None at all,
So
my
we're
lord.
perfectly
We just had Pringles.
compos mentis.
Totally sober.
Yeah, I tell you the problem. As Gordon says, the problem is the Pringles were very alcoholic.
They were full of strange chemicals.
And we drank the wine to take the taste away.
It's the Pringles chemicals.
We drank the wine to take the taste away, but the Pringles were deadly.
The last thing we need is critiques like this that takes all the pleasure out of it and all the fun. On a closing note, I would say that we have had well in excess of 950 YouTube views, the most successful film we've done so far. So I think the critique is a little bit out this time, don't you? Good night.